theme song for 30-some years.
So good.
3, 2, 3, 2, 1.
Hello today, this is Lou Porter, and we have a special guest today. We want you to feel free to call us here, so I'm going to give the number. First off, 319-234-1441. Should you have a question, concern, or an opinion you'd like to share with the greater listening audience, we're here. Have a special guest today, too, and it's in the person of Stephen J. Dust, who is the president and CEO of Greater Cedar Valley Alliance and Chamber. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
Well, there are people, and thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Lou.
There are a lot of people that maybe don't know what it's all about, how broad it is, how it came to be, and since you've been the only person heading up this, we don't have to have 4 or 5 people. We can just ask you the questions and find out all the good stuff that has been happening through the Greater Cedar Valley. So first of all, why don't you give us just a little background on yourself, where you were raised, went to school at, that kind of thing.
Sure. I am originally from Chicago, the far south side of Chicago. Still have some family over there, and spent most of my educational years. I moved with my grandparents to far south Missouri, into a rural area just east of Springfield. And so that's where I graduated from high school, went to college at the University of Central Missouri, where I met my wife, Donita.
All right.
And we spent most of our time in Central Missouri area until 1993, when my family moved to Iowa to buy another business for our partnership. Mm-hmm. And so since then, I have primarily been in the Des Moines area. And then 10 years ago, and all of that time, I've been involved in economic development in some fashion, either on the public side or the private side, mm-hmm. In the construction and development business or the utility business.
Yes.
And 10 years ago, there was, I was told about something that they were creating in the Waterloo area called the Greater Cedar Valley Alliance. Mm-hmm. And they were ready and to go on the road, on the path of putting economic development and the chambers of commerce together, and economic development generally to a higher level of cooperation, and I got interested in that.
All right.
And fortunately, they got interested in me. I arrived here in June of 2004, and we've been working at it ever since.
Ever since.
Yeah, and I hope we're making progress.
Yeah. And the whole bit about economic development.
Yes.
We are so fortunate that we have John Deere, for instance.
Yes.
This is a company known globally,
absolutely,
around the world.
And for quality and
Absolutely.
innovation. There are a lot of other places, Lou. You can look around the country today, and they're known for a large company, mm-hmm. but they're also in economic decline. Mm-hmm. Now, we have a company like a Deere, who has gone through their own tough times, mm-hmm. and the community has gone through it with them, but look at the business that has grown from it. Today, we have 6 Deere facilities in the metro. They are absolutely an economic engine, and the key point about it is, you know, one of our goals is that we want to develop and strengthen a technology and innovation-based regional economy, and that's right where Deere is. Mm-hmm. They're on the very edge of innovation. They've been recognized as one of the most innovative companies in the world.
That's right.
Last year, and they do so much of that. I don't think our folks understand how much of the Deere product innovation actually happens in the Cedar Valley, between the engineering center, product engineering center, the engine works, the drivetrain, of course the assembly operations. There's just all kinds of things that are happening around that firm, as well as their supply chain. Mm-hmm. You know, there's the thousands of people who are connected to Deere, but then there are thousands more that are connected to the suppliers to Deere that are also here.
Absolutely.
And we just had the opportunity yesterday to announce the location of yet another one of those businesses, Zeidberg, from the Netherlands announced yesterday that they're going to establish a location here, not only to serve Deere, but all of their agricultural equipment suppliers throughout North America from the Cedar Valley.
Wow.
So you have...
That's big news.
That
Yes,
was significant
yes.
news. And so then you have all the other manufacturers. In Iowa, Lou, we have the highest concentration of manufacturing of any other metropolitan area in Iowa.
Okay.
And manufacturing is the largest industry in Iowa.
Mhm.
Most people would say corn and soybean,
Yeah.
carbohydrates and proteins are, but not so. Our largest industry in our state product is manufacturing.
Mhm.
So we're the biggest in the biggest, if you will, in terms of industry.
Number one and number two. Yes. Okay.
And then on top of that, our economy has a couple of other very significant drivers, like our healthcare system. Think of the hospitals that we have here, and we're the largest concentration of specialties between the University of Iowa and Rochester at Mayo.
Okay.
So we have a very high level of innovation happening in our healthcare industry, as well as, and very significant payroll and economic activity in the whole healthcare group.
I'm glad you're taking the time to do this, Steve, because a lot of people, they're pretty dry, you know, for a lot of people, unless they're directly connected to it, working for one of these large
Right.
entities that you're talking about. The ordinary, everyday person may not know, you know, what makes these things, how do they get here in the
Yeah,
first place,
yeah,
you know,
yes.
how are they attracted? And
Right.
that's where you come
Right.
in, is always being on the lookout. The Netherlands, now
Yeah.
that, you know.
You know, that's a
I'm
great...
sure there are ancestors already here.
You bet, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of folks to attract a company from the Netherlands into the area. They feel very comfortable here because the heritage is in the area. But that's a great story that I can kind of walk through very quickly to show how that process works. So yesterday was the culmination of 2 years of work by the firm in trying to determine where they were going to locate their North American operations.
Wow.
So, you know, our metropolitan area doesn't have the resources to do international marketing. So we rely heavily on our partners at the Iowa Economic Development Authority to have an aggressive foreign direct investment marketing program, which they do, and they've become very good at that. And so through that marketing, we became aware of this opportunity, and the company started looking for locations. As they visited the Cedar Valley for the first time, it became clear to us, in fact it was explicitly said to us, that the decision was going to be made by the company's president, because this is where he was going to live, as well as operate his business. So it wasn't just about real estate and roads and railroads and all the things that go into a business site selection process. This family was deciding where they were going to live. And so we had to take a different approach to it. So we had people like Steen Hansen and his wife. Steen is the CEO of a company called Bassard in the Cedar Falls Industrial Park, who's also from the Netherlands.
Oh,
They hit it off right away, or from Europe, and they hit it off right away. And so we let those families visit about what it's like to live in the Cedar Valley. Well, the president's name is Rudolph DeYoung, and Rudolph's wife is a professional herself, and she was very concerned about the kind of professional opportunities that might be available to her here in the agricultural sciences. So we connected them with the Hollis family, Blake and Sally Hollis, who have Fairhaven Farms here in the area. And Sally is a professional engineer who has deep professional experience here with Deere. And so we got them connected with the Hollis family to learn more about not only her career path opportunities, but also about the education system and about how their kids their kids happen to go to Orange School, and what opportunities may be available to them. We got them in front of our staff and to talk about the Leader in Me, which we'll talk about more. We toured them extensively through our neighborhoods so they could understand the range of opportunities for housing and a place to live, and toured them around the area generally so they could get a feel for the place that they might move.
Yeah, that's a big move for them.
Absolutely, and it's their first time to live in the United States, and it's the first time for the company to have a facility in the United States. So all of those things together, we kept working on all the details, and then of course we had to pay attention to the things that make a business want to be here as well, the facilities and the people and whatnot. So all of that over a 2-year period of time came to a successful decision for the Cedar Valley. And that's the kind of thing that we say we want to do that we do on a continual basis for bringing those kinds of opportunities to the Cedar Valley so that our communities can continue to grow with those expansions.
Yeah, and I think it's significant that this is happening. If you looked back, well, it hasn't been that many years ago, but I can remember going downtown, and it was like the most desolate place, you know, that you would want you wouldn't want to go there. But what you saw when you got there made it even more, there were too many people who had brought in to close the door and start believing that, you know, if you saw a man believe it, so is that man. So we finally backed ourselves into a corner where we either had to come out fighting or just lay down and forget it. And of course, what you just said makes the statement that we recognize that and began to work on it.
You bet.
And been working on it ever since.
Right.
And downtown Waterloo has been more than restored.
Oh, yeah.
Looks better than it's ever.
It does, and it has been restored, and work continues. I am very pleased with the scale, and now that we have those basic, you know, you look at both Waterloo, Cedar Falls, even Waverly's downtowns, now that the vibrancy is back, that people want to be there, and so now we're in a position where new housing is being built in our downtowns.
Yes, and people, I understand, I was talking to the mayor, people are on a waiting list.
There is a waiting
Young
list for
people.
housing, yes.
Yes.
And in our downtowns, and that is just terrific. So, you know, you look at all the hard work that Waterloo and Cedar Falls has gone through over the last 10 to 20 years, and we've got to understand, every downtown went through this. It wasn't just us. It was all across our country where
so true.
The mission of the downtown changed. From a retail center to a cultural and entertainment and business center. And so we had to live through that transition, and that was tough.
It was tough.
You know, look where we have come through to with the great amenities that we have on the waterfront now, that amphitheater, the Marks Park, the public market, all of the things that people look for in terms of how does a city present itself, how does a region present itself in the downtowns. We're to a place now where we can literally begin a water trail between Waterloo and Cedar Falls and connect all of those amenities that you can share in both downtowns. Isn't that amazing?
Right. That is amazing.
So you look at all the things being built or planned in the downtowns, and boy, my hat goes off to all the people, the folks who have invested so much privately, as well as the organizations in Main Street Waterloo, as well as Community Main Street in Cedar Falls, and the Chamber and Main Street organization up in Waverly, and all of our surrounding community, even Rhinebeck. I love to take people through Rhinebeck down in Grundy County with its full Main Street and vibrant Main Street. So that's something that we're very thankful for in the Cedar Valley, is very vibrant, healthy downtowns, which send all the right messages to people who want to consider this a place to live or start a business.
It is the most amazing transformation, I think, that could be witnessed, could be accomplished, and the people who you mentioned have a lot of investment
Yes.
in downtown and beyond, but to see the restoration here, right here, where we can go and actually walk all the way through one side of the river to the other.
Right.
And it's a place where, may not believe it because of all the bad weather we've been having. The spring is on the way, followed
That's
by
right,
summer.
that's right, that's right.
And it'll be a good place where we can take our children and
Oh.
grandchildren downtown safely and encourage them to get their exercise
That's
and
right.
all that kind of stuff, when we know that going straight down 4th Street before and looking on either side was nothing, absolutely nothing. The windows were painted, there was no business going on. It was just, it was just unbelievable.
Well, now, Louis, and now we can go down either 4th Street corridor or Highway 63 corridor
right.
and look at all the new job opportunities, the new commercial opportunities that are occurring there, some new industrial development on the 63 side, as well as all the commercial development. And I think that is very important for the community. We spend a lot of time, are spending a lot of time on the TechWorks campus, on the redevelopment
Yes.
there, the old, the former Deere production campus now being reborn again into a center of manufacturing and commercial activity. The museum is about to open, the John Deere Tractor and Engine Museum is about to
That's
open.
going to be something.
Oh.
Where is that located?
It
Who are
is,
listening?
it is on Westfield Avenue. For those who were familiar with John Deere's presence there before, it's in the old office building.
Okay.
And you can drive by there today and see the signage very soon. As soon as the weather will let us, you'll see a lot of
Goodness.
site improvements happen. And then later this spring, it will open to the public. And people should be very excited about that, because it's not just a museum to see old stuff. It's a place where our students can learn
Yes.
about technology and engineering, and understand how an engine works, understand what a tractor does, understand not only the history, but also where is that whole field going in terms of technologies. And so it's going to be an exciting place to be. And then 2 blocks away is the Sportsplex.
Yeah, walking distance.
Oh, absolutely walking distance, or Segway distance, whichever
Yes.
way you want to do. Biking distance.
Yeah,
But I think we can all celebrate the resurgence of our riverfronts, from regardless of what community, whether it's Waverly on one river, or downstream to Cedar Falls, or downstream to Waterloo, and then over to Independence. Their downtown riverfronts is impressive as well. So we have such a great place to introduce new businesses to.
do you feel that we are up to where we should be in terms of all of this that we've been talking about today, and all of the good things that are going on?
Right.
But are we ready with the people who have the skills
Great
to
question.
fill these jobs that are coming on now and will be coming on even more so?
No, and that's what we have to work on. In order for us to fulfill our mission of helping increase economic vitality and wealth throughout the community, we have to have people who are prepared to take the jobs that not only are open today, but that we don't even know how to define into the future.
Right.
And so we're working very closely with our school systems and our higher education systems, which is another part that I have to brag on. The Cedar Valley has 6 higher education institutions. And the University of Northern Iowa, Hawkeye Community College, Allen College, Kaplan College, Wartburg College, and University of Upper Iowa.
Yes.
Upper Iowa University.
Mhm.
So what an amazing cluster of opportunity for higher education in all kinds of different formats. And so we have the infrastructure in place. Now we have to get our folks involved in the programs that will prepare them for those jobs. I've got to take my hat off to Waterloo Schools. They're doing an amazing job with their 21st Century Schools initiative, helping reformat, thinking through how to reformat the education process so that students understand earlier that they have options for learning in the future, and the kind of career options that are attached to that learning to keep kids enthused. You know, you and I both ask a lot of questions about why are we in this algebra class? Well, the newer education methods today help kids understand first that they want to do something, and then they understand, well, I got to go through algebra to get that. And those kinds of things, hands-on environment and experiences. And all of our K through 12 systems are going through that kind of an analysis to make sure that we provide our students with the very best basic knowledge that will help them build their careers in the future. And it's all about being productive citizens. And part of being a productive citizen is productive work and satisfying work. And so as we're working on making sure that those job opportunities are available, our school systems are working on building the programs that will match their skills to the jobs, or to create their own business, which is also a very important option. And that's how economic growth will keep happening. You know, in the old days, I don't know how to define old days, but in the past, a place just had to have people to attract an employer. It was just the number of bodies that was important, and then they trained it. Not anymore. Today, every location is kind of constrained in the number of people, so it's the level of education present in that. So we've got to drop dropout rates, we've got to increase graduation rates, we've got to increase both young women and young men in the science, technology, engineering, and math fields, regardless of what their career path may take them. They have to have those basic skills.
Basics.
Yes.
Right. And that is being worked on at a much younger age, and also lifting women. I'm interested in the new opportunities that young girls, young women
Yes.
will have in fields that perhaps they only got the surface of it, but never encouraged it. You know, you can become an engineer, an architect, or whatever, you know. And as you said before, Steve, this is what you have to do.
Right.
And that leads ultimately to make this whole thing work. You've got to have parents involved at the level where their children are beginning to go to school and branch their little wings out and so forth.
That's right.
You've got to have that. It's a combination of things. It's not one person's responsibility or one business opportunity or whatever. It's got to be a lot of people who are willing to come together.
Absolutely.
And work for the good.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
One of the programs that we at the Alliance and Chamber have underway right now that address just that kind of thing is called the Leader in Me. And the Leader in Me is now in, I think, 14 schools throughout Waterloo, Cedar Falls, and the Catholic system. And our goal is to have it in every school by 2018. And Leader in Me helps both the student and the faculty and administration understand or gain the tools to effectively deal with each other and build what we call the soft skills. Be accountable. You know, be ready to make a promise and fulfill that promise. Understand how to work in teams and how to help build your decision-making skills, build your thinking skills, and teamwork skills, the kinds of things that are going to make you successful, whether it's in your family or in your job or in school, whatever the case may be. You and I know that we have to have certain skills to do that, and somewhere along the way that's kind of gotten a little weak.
Yeah.
And so Leader in Me is in the schools to help do that, to teach, to help implement a program that will strengthen those soft skills in our students so that they're prepared for life.
Yeah. And without that, we wouldn't be having companies looking at us now, international
Right.
companies looking at, of all places, Waterloo. And there will be challenges.
Oh, sure.
That we, you know, if you need 5,000 people and you come up with 2,500, something's got to give, you know.
Right.
And we've got to make these things more important to children at a younger age.
Right. We've
And-
got to keep our kids in the Cedar Valley. We've got to make sure that our students have opportunities to stay here and are willing to stay here, and attract others like our that we mentioned earlier today from Zeitberg, moving to the Cedar Valley, bringing their family here. We've got to be attractive to talented people to help our economy grow, and that's why you see a lot of these things. You know, we've already talked about these things happening in our downtowns, the kinds of programs that we have in place for our students, the kind of programs we have in place to make our students aware of the Cedar Valley and the opportunities that are available here. So, yeah, we have to have talented people who are engaged in lifelong learning. That's one of the things that is so important today, Lou, is that we don't get to stay in one or maybe two careers in our lifetime. We know that our students today are going to be changing jobs more frequently. They're going to be changing careers frequently. And we're just hoping that we can convince them to stay in the Cedar Valley while they grow that career.
Right. Well, it certainly is an open market in many, many ways.
Yes.
And as you've said, getting people there with the right skills at the right time takes a lot of cooperation, and I see that. And we will need to stay on top of that by being ready to have people who want to stay here, who want to stay at home, and maybe they see it just the opposite way. A lot of people want to just get away, move away. Then there are those who want to stay because they realize we're very close to places like Chicago and Kansas City.
Absolutely.
And where you can go for a weekend or whatever, and,
Right.
and so there's that. There's, as we've said, the Plex, the Sportsplex,
Yes.
and other things that those are amenities that we did not have.
That's right.
And they certainly will have KBBG that they can have a choice.
There
of
you
listening
go.
to.
There you go.
I put in a
And that's a
plug
big
for them.
attribute for our community as well, and we appreciate the work you do out here, Lou.
Well, we're almost 37 years old now.
That's terrific.
And who would have thunk it, you know? I think Mr. Porter kind of saw ahead of us, and we had a lot of work that needed to be continued,
Yeah.
and that's what we continue to do today.
Lou, I enjoy coming out here, and well, whether it's out here or when we see each other at events all over the community, I always enjoy the chance to visit with you. You are always so positive. You are a promoter of our Cedar Valley, and you do an amazing job out here. We appreciate that. A lot of people don't understand everything that you're doing out here for our youth. And
Yeah, that's my passion right there, you know.
we appreciate that.
Yeah, if we don't save our youth, all else is ill, you know. And we know that we can do it once we make up our mind, and we're beginning to see that.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you could be with us. I know that you're a busy person.
Always time for you.
Yeah, and we didn't have time to go into this, but there is a lot of new literature coming out on keeping people appraised of what is happening.
Yes.
And so they can get these magazines and things, maybe
Yeah.
at the chamber or somewhere else.
Right. We publish with the Courier something called the Business Monthly.
Mm-hmm.
And then a fellow from Coralville has started another publication called Corridor Business Journal.
Right.
So yeah, those publications and more are available at our office. So anytime that
Good.
somebody would choose to come by, we'll have it for them.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Stephen J. Dest, who is the President and CEO of the Greater Cedar Valley Alliance Chamber. If there's something that you maybe did not hear and wanted to hear, I'm sure that you could call Steve and talk to him about that
Absolutely.
at length. I just want
Absolutely.
to say thanks to our listeners for being there. And don't forget this Friday, we're kicking off a midwinter fundraiser for KBPG. Those of you who are out there, we know we're supposed to get a lot of bad snow and so forth, but we're moving ahead. We're moving ahead. Thank you for being with us. This is Lou Porter for FYI.